DA leader John Steenhuisen unveiled the party's election manifesto at the Union Buildings in Pretoria earlier today. Thousands of supporters gathered for the launch. Steenhuisen says the party will focus on 7 key priorities that the party will deliver as pledges to South Africans. Among these 7 priorities is the inclusion of the creation of 2 million jobs, ending load shedding, as well as water woes.
The DA's key priorities during the 2024 to 2029 term will be to 1. Create 2 million new jobs for South Africans. 2. To end load shedding in South Africa and end water shedding. Number 3. Halve the rate of violent crime, including murder, attempted murder, and gender-based violence. 4. Crush corruption by abolishing cadre deployment in favor of merit-based appointments and a capable state that delivers for all South Africans. 5. Lift 6 million South Africans out of poverty. 6. Triple the number of grade 4 learners who can read for meaning. And finally, 7. Ensuring quality health care for all South Africans. Those are 7 great things. Now, unlike most other parties, we're going to come and promise you the sun, the moon, and the stars. The DA's rescue plan is not pie in the sky. Because it's easy for parties to come and stand before you that have no track record in government to get up and read out a list of impossible promises that they could never implement and never fund. But you know what? South Africans are tired of empty promises. They are tired of hearing about bullet trains when the trains that they used to take to work no longer run. They are tired about industrialization plans when the factories that they used to work in have closed due to load shedding. They are tired of hearing about smart cities when they don't feel safe on the streets of their own cities where they live.
And now for a detailed discussion on this, we have in studio with us SABC News political editor Mzwandile Mbeje. Mzwandile, a very good evening to you. Welcome. Look, you were at the grounds at the Union Buildings. 7 promises of the DA's rescue plan for South Africa, better healthcare for everyone, safety and security, as well as those jobs. Look, did John Steenhuisen, the party leader, articulate inclusivity in his message, though?
Oh, well, a very good evening to you. Yeah, I mean, election plans, or rather manifestos, I guess they are meant to give a broad overview of what the party intends to do should it get to power. Perhaps what they will say is that at this stage, they were laying it out there to South Africans to know who they are, where they stand. And in fact, it was very interesting where they chose to host their rally, because it was right in front of the Union Buildings, at the doorstep
at
of the
lawns, yes.
So basically symbolizing the fact that they are ready to just walk in there. But before you do that, you'll have to pass through South Africans who will then make that X. If you look at their fortunes at the moment, where they are, judging by the past results, I guess they still have a long road to travel. But in terms of trying to obviously be inclusive in their message, so that's what I think they've been trying to speak about. Even when you pick up from their 7 plans that they are talking about, where they are saying they would look at the issue of cadre deployment. But I find this one very, very tricky because if you win government as a political party, you want those policies to be implemented. And then you want people, Alicia, who understand the policies of the party. So I don't know how they will do that. But of course, I think where everyone would agree with them is that you can't just put anyone simply because he or she is a party hack, but you need somebody who's qualified for that. So that is something that it's going to be very interesting, because even if you look at the Western Cape, which they speak about, I mean, there is a lot of their own people there who you may not necessarily use cadre deployment, but certainly are people who are pushing the policies that they have been speaking about.
Now, the issue of how the DA Mzwandile has actually aligned itself with Israel amid the ongoing conflict in Gaza, how has this somehow altered or tainted the image of the party, if any way?
You know, when you look at the analysis around what is going to happen in 2024, obviously we look at the governing ANC, because that is the party that is in power at the moment. So it makes sense that we'll pay particular attention to the governing ANC. But we have 9 provinces in this country, and then one of those provinces is being governed by the Democratic Alliance.
True.
And perhaps we're not speaking so much about what could possibly happen in the Western Cape. If you look at the past results of the last elections in the Western Cape, they've been declining.
True.
And then coming to the issue you've just raised, one of the things that could impact on the DA's electoral prospects perhaps declining, is exactly that issue of Israel-Palestinian. I mean, when you look at the profile of some of the people who vote for the DA, particularly in the Western Cape, they have been coming out clear, saying, well, so from this kind of stance that you are championing or that you are having, so it's certainly not aligning with us. So. And outside of that, there are parties that are eating into its base as well. A party like Patriotic Alliance in that colored vote. And then a party like Action SA. I know that with Action SA, perhaps it's a bit more of a javelin situation because of the multi-party charter. Because even if Action SA were to take some of the votes, given that they have this pact, pre-election pact, perhaps those ones could be recouped in one way or the other, so which is a topic for another day, I think. But in terms of their prospects, I do not think they really look good, especially given what we have said. The geo, or rather the global dynamics, may have affected the DA, particularly from some of the people who have been very loyal in terms of voting for it.
Look, Mzwandile, another interesting aspect is, of course, how the party is still seen as representing, of course, or championing for the wide community. I spoke to an analyst yesterday who feels that the party has somehow diversified from going from the internal struggles or racial struggles that are internal in the party. But we know this is not a fact. A lot of DA leaders that have resigned that are of a black race have actually come out with allegations of still inherent racial issues within the party. So do you think that the party has diversified itself enough ahead of the elections and try to get rid of that stigma or narrative that it's only championing for the white vote?
I think here is the problem with the Democratic Alliance. The party itself, obviously, it seeks to represent all South Africans. And you can see, I mean, people who were there, obviously the majority, I mean, I can say I was there, were black people. But here is the issue. Structurally, so is the cost structure of the DA welcoming to perhaps those who may not necessarily have been traditionally aligned with that liberal viewpoint of the DA? So why are so many black people, particularly leaders, leaving the DA? Yes, they may be leaving for one reason or the other, but I mean, it started with their former leader, Musa Maimane, after the decline electorally. And then you've had a string of other leaders leave. Of course, there are many who remain behind. But then that tells you, because some of those are very bright leaders. I mean, bright, educated, young, black. So those are the people you would want to have, because they would actually help you grow the base beyond the perceived traditional white voter base. But it would seem that the DA will have to do a lot more in terms of its structure. Structurally, you'd find that once they are inside, they may find it very difficult to then operate from the point of view that they may be used to.
All right, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much for that update. That is SABC News political editor Mzwandile Mbeje.